Hey, you summoned a lesser maker. Today we're going to go back in time again and take a look at the Warhammer Fantasy Hell Knight. I've always felt like I've kind of missed out on this classic era of hobby. If I didn't ever do it, I'd always be curious. So let's do it today. Let's get into resurrecting this Hell Knight. That's cool. All right. Okay. Well, he's a little rough. He kind of looks like a Muppet. Let's see what the shield looks like. All right. And then this horse is one of the main reasons I got this kit. I thought it looked really interesting.
When cleaning a metal miniature, you got to make sure your swords are straight. There are metal tags that in some of the raised spots in the mold, I cleaned a lot of them off here. Throughout the painting process, I kept finding more. And underneath that metal tag, when it lays flat, you could just get bare metal. You'll have to be a little more careful with those spots because they didn't get primer and stuff on it. The plastic wasn't very great either, to be honest. The mold slip on this guy was pretty drastic. And the joints, I had to make sure that they were trimmed flat and kind of lined up correctly.
Initially, I was going to put it on this base, but I don't ever plan on playing Warhammer Fantasy. So I think we're just kind of set that aside. I'm going to go with a round base so that next time I'm playing Shoots and Ladders with my kids, I can play in style.
The glue point halfway through the miniature, whenever I felt like I had the back lined up correctly, the rib cage was overlapping, so I had to kind of make sure that it was held tightly while the plastic glue kind of welded everything together. So that was a bit of a headache, but overall, this wasn't too bad considering I only had one miniature. But if I had several, I think I would have been overwhelmed pretty easily. I'm using super glue gel to glue the bark to the base. And then as I use activator to kind of clamp it down while it dries. I do the same to glue the horse to the base as well. To make sure that the rider stayed on the horse, I drilled with my X-Acto knife down and up through the connection point to make sure that there's a lot of surface area for the super glue gel to fill. And because there were so many holes in the bumps of the bony back, I think there was enough connection points to make sure this top-heavy model didn't go anywhere.
Okay, let's take a second to talk about Patreon a bit. As a creator, I feel like I've flipped the platform on its head because I'm actually supporting your hobby there. For more than a year, I've been providing every STL, every template, every laser cut file, absolutely free to you guys. Thank you to my Patreon members. I really sincerely appreciate you guys supporting me throughout the year. All right, let's get back to the build.
I started with a matte clear coat to make sure that my paint really adhered to this model. And then I did a matte black spray paint. And then I did a zenithal of a teal. And that was just to kind of give it a ghostly look to start out with. And having a zenithal really helps you familiarize with the model. For the bone, I did a sickly green undercoat. And then I just kind of overbrushed with a light, almost mint green, just on all the bone textures. Because of all the raised surfaces, it was really easy to kind of get a lot of texture with these sketchy. Something I do have to say, as much as it was a headache for all the prep for this model, it painted up really easily because, you can only sculpt details so small because these models have been sculpted by hand. These models almost lend themselves better to paint than some other models where the details can just get so tiny. Maybe I just got lucky with this one, but I thought it was really good. And then I went in a little closer, had to move the camera out of the way to make sure all my brush strokes were really good. And I went really back and forth between darker colors and lighter colors to make sure that there was a lot of contrast here. Obviously, I'm going with a red armor, and to kind of accentuate that, I did all the chainmail with a really dark green, and then I dry brushed all that with a silver. I did a kind of greenish leather color for all the leather points too, and then I'd use that same dark green for the sword initially, and then I went over all those parts with that silver. The hair in the back, and the bone for the skeleton, I did a lot of going back and forth with the colors, and to kind of bring it all together with the horses, I made sure to go over with a green wash several times, and then I also went in with different colors of speed paints to kind of add a little more contrast and shading to these miniatures. I wanted to do something magical with the sword. And so because green kind of stands out against the red, I went with a base coat of dark green, and then I went in again with like a lighter green. And I went back and forth with this a lot. There were a lot of mistakes that I'd made because I wanted to make something really great. And, it was a little mediocre, to be honest. So I went over it again with another rough iron metallic army painter paint, and I kind of glazed it on so there was the shadow of what I kind of ended up with, and then I went over it again with that yellow. After I put on that yellow lightning bolt, I edge highlighted everything, and then I glazed on that rough iron metallic color again to kind of even everything out. And it didn't turn out fantastic, but it was better than it was. So I kind of I went in with the base with a brown color, and then I kind of pulled off some of the paint to reveal the underlayer of blue on the edges of the rock, and to leave the dirt color where I felt like dirt would lay. And that was basically it. Overall, I'm really happy with this miniature. Make sure you leave a like. It made a huge difference last week. As a Black Friday and a thank you to you guys, made all my merch 5% off. There's a coupon code in the description if you're interested in that as well. All right, have a good one.